I asked my boyfriend why every fight returned to my past. He stepped closer and whispered, because your punishment isn't over yet. It was almost 11 at night. A dryer rattled behind us while another blinked an error message over a load of damp clothes. I had carried both baskets downstairs after working late because Gavin had forgotten about them again. He had been home studying all day. I wasn't furious about the laundry. I was exhausted from having the same argument in different forms. Why does every problem between us become another conversation about what I did 4 years ago? I asked. Gavin stepped closer. Because your punishment isn't over yet. The word stopped me. Punishment. His expression shifted. That came out wrong. How else could it come out? You know I'm angry. I know. You've been angry for almost our entire relationship. He turned toward the machines. The dryer kept thumping as one of his shoes struck the drum. I waited for him to take the sentence back. He didn't. That was when I realized we were no longer trying to heal from the past. We were living inside it. I met Gavin 3.5 years earlier, not long after a painful breakup. I wasn't looking for another serious relationship. I had started casually dating because my friends thought I needed to get out of the house and meet people again. At the time, I was seeing a man named Reed. Reed was openly non-monogamous. Everyone involved understood the arrangement. We met occasionally, but neither of us expected it to become a traditional relationship. Then Gavin messaged me. Our first conversation lasted almost 2 hours. He asked thoughtful questions, remembered small details, and never made me feel as though he was waiting for his turn to talk. When he invited me to dinner, I agreed. The restaurant was almost empty because the weather had turned bad. What should have been a quick first date stretched late into the evening. When the staff began cleaning the tables around us, Gavin smiled. I think they want us to leave. They've wanted us to leave for 20 minutes. So we're both pretending not to notice? Apparently. He laughed, and I remember how easy everything felt. There was no pressure to impress him. I didn't have to fill every silence. We spent the rest of the night together. The next morning, Gavin kissed me before leaving and asked when he could see me again. Soon, I said. I meant it. 2 days later, Reed messaged me. It was Valentine's Day, and we had made loose plans before I ever met Gavin. I stared at the message for a long time. I knew I wanted another date with Gavin. I also knew we had met once and had never discussed commitment. I didn't know whether he was speaking to other women. He didn't know about Reed. I told myself I was still single. So I went. There was no confusion about what I was doing. Reed didn't pressure me. I made the decision. Almost immediately afterward, I regretted it. I lay awake thinking about Gavin and how excited I had been when he asked to see me again. Most of all, I knew that if I told him what had happened, he might walk away. That fear should have made me honest. Instead, it made me hide the truth. The next morning, I ended things with Reed. I told him I had met someone I wanted to pursue seriously. He accepted it, and I never saw him again. When Gavin and I went out later that week, he asked whether I had enjoyed Valentine's Day. That was my chance. Instead of telling him, I said I had spent time with someone I knew. It wasn't a complete lie, which was how I justified it. Over the following weeks, Gavin and I became serious. We spoke every day. We spent most nights together. Eventually, he asked whether I was seeing anyone else. I said no. By then, it was true. But I knew I was using the present to hide what had happened before. At first, I told myself it didn't matter because we had not been exclusive. Then I convinced myself that telling him would only create unnecessary pain. The real reason was simpler. I was afraid of losing him. 9 months into our relationship, we were living together. One evening, Gavin received a message from an unknown number accusing me of seeing other people behind his back. The accusations were false. There had been no one else since Reed. Gavin handed me his phone. What is this? I don't know. Someone says you've been cheating on me. I haven't. Then why would they send this? I don't know. He watched my face. I should have been able to look directly at him because the message wasn't true. But I had one secret. Gavin noticed my hesitation. There's something you're not telling me. There hasn't been anyone since we became a couple. That isn't what I asked. He placed the phone on the table. What happened? I told him about Reed. I explained that the relationship had been casual and openly non-monogamous. Then I admitted that I had seen him 2 days after my first date with Gavin. Gavin stared at me. You slept with him after you slept with me? Yes. On Valentine's Day? Yes. And then you came back to me. I ended things with him the next morning. That doesn't change what happened. I know. You already wanted to keep seeing me. Yes. Then why did you go? We hadn't talked about being exclusive. He stood so quickly that his chair struck the wall. So that made it fine? No. I'm explaining how I thought about it at the time. You believed you could do whatever you wanted until I specifically told you not to. I should have told you. Why didn't you? Because I thought you would leave. He gave a bitter laugh. So you made the decision for me. That was the part one could not defend. Whatever I believed about early dating, I had hidden something because I knew it might change his choice. Gavin slept in the living room that night. The next morning, he asked to see my phone. I handed it over because I wanted to prove there had been no one else. He searched through old conversations with my friends, including messages written before we became serious. Then he found a chat with my friend Hazel. Before my first date with Gavin, Hazel had teased me about having too many plans that week. After Valentine's Day, she had asked, "So which one are you keeping?" I had replied with a laughing emoji and written, "I think I already know." I had meant Gavin. To him, it looked heartless. "You were joking about us." I wasn't laughing at you. You were comparing me to him. I told her I wanted you. After you went to see him. He kept scrolling. A message saying Gavin seemed too good to be true became evidence that I had distrusted him. A joke about not being ready for a serious relationship became proof that I had used him. Some of the messages were careless and embarrassing. Others were ordinary conversations from a time when I was still single. But context no longer mattered. When Gavin asked me to delete old contacts, I did. When he wanted access to my location, I agreed. When he became uncomfortable around Hazel because she had known about Reed, I saw her less. I believed those sacrifices were temporary. I thought that if I was patient and transparent, his trust would return. For a while, things improved. We traveled together. We celebrated holidays with our families. We talked about saving for a home. Then a small disagreement would bring everything back. If I asked why he had canceled plans without telling me, he would say, "At least I didn't hide another person from you." If I told him something he said had hurt me, he would answer, "You don't know what hurt feels like." If I asked him to communicate better, he accused me of pretending I had always been honest. At first, I apologized every time. Later, I tried to keep the conversation on the current issue. "I'm not denying what I did," I would say. "I'm asking about what happened today." His answer was always similar. "None of this would be happening if you hadn't lied." Gavin and I also understood the beginning of our relationship differently. I had grown up believing that early dating remained open until both people discussed exclusivity. Gavin was raised in Nigeria. To him, if two people were genuinely pursuing each other, sleeping with someone else after a successful date was already a betrayal. He believed a formal conversation should not have been necessary. I understood why he saw it that way. He believed my guilt proved I had understood it too. I believed our different expectations explained the original decision, but not my choice to hide it. Whenever I tried to make that distinction, Gavin heard it as an excuse. 2 years into our relationship, we tried counseling. Our counselor, Dana, listened while Gavin described what had happened. When he finished, she asked me whether I understood why he felt betrayed. "Yes," I said. "I understand that hiding it damaged his trust." Then she turned to Gavin. "What would rebuilding that trust look like?" He was silent. "What would Tessa need to do for you to feel that she has taken responsibility?" "I don't know." "Can you imagine reaching a point where this no longer becomes part of unrelated disagreements?" "I don't know." "Do you want to forgive her?" Gavin's expression hardened. "You're making it sound like I'm choosing this." "I'm asking what outcome you want." "I want it not to have happened." Dana nodded. "That is understandable, but it cannot be the condition for moving forward." Gavin left feeling as though he had been blamed for not healing quickly enough. We attended one more session. Then he refused to return. I stayed in the relationship because I loved him and still felt responsible for the damage. Leaving seemed like proof that I had never truly intended to repair it. Last year, Gavin entered a demanding training program. He worried that working at the same time would cause him to fall behind, so we made an agreement. For 1 year, I would cover most of our expenses. He would focus on the program and handle more of the household responsibilities. I didn't resent supporting him. I believed we were investing in our future. During the first few weeks, he cooked, cleaned, and thanked me for taking pressure off him. Then the effort faded. Laundry remained in baskets. Garbage piled up. Dishes stayed in the sink until I washed them. Whenever I asked for help, Gavin said the program was harder than he had expected. I tried to be understanding. I knew he was stressed, and depending on me financially affected his confidence. But after 10 months, I was paying nearly every shared expense while also doing most of the work at home. Then Gavin started connecting his struggles to our past. When he performed badly on an assessment, he said he had spent the night thinking about Reed. When he missed a deadline, he said he couldn't focus because our relationship had damaged him. When I suggested he might be overwhelmed, he told me I was the reason. One night, he said, I would be further ahead if I had never met you. I waited for him to take it back. He didn't. A few days later, I came home and found the laundry where I had left it. I carried the baskets downstairs myself. Gavin followed after I sent him a message asking whether he planned to help. By the time he entered the laundry room, I had already loaded one machine. What is your problem? He asked. We made an agreement. I've been studying. And I've been working, paying the bills, shopping, and cleaning. So now I'm a burden. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I closed the washer. This is what happens every time. I bring up one issue and you turn it into something else. Because you act like you're perfect. I have never said that. You think paying for things erases what you did. This has nothing to do with Reed. It has everything to do with him. You forgot the laundry because of something I did almost 4 years ago? You don't understand what betrayal does to someone. I understand that I hurt you. No, you don't. I have spent years trying to understand. And now you're tired of taking responsibility. I'm tired of every responsibility becoming mine. Then I asked him why every fight returned to my past. He stepped closer. Because your punishment isn't over yet. My anger disappeared. Not because I was calm. Because the word made everything clear. Punishment. I used the wrong word. What word did you mean? You know what I'm saying. No, I don't. I'm saying you don't decide when I'm over it. I have never asked you to pretend it didn't happen. You want me to stop talking about it? I want to discuss laundry without defending Valentine's Day. You always make it sound small. The laundry is small. What happened between us wasn't. They are not the same issue. To you. To anyone trying to have a relationship that can move forward. His expression hardened. So now I'm the problem. I'm saying this cannot continue. You created this. I created the original wound. I did not make every choice that came after it. He stared at me. For years, I had treated defending myself as another form of betrayal. That night, I stopped. I should have told you, I said. I understand why you felt deceived. But after you learned the truth, you chose to stay. I was already in love with you. I know. You took away my choice. For the first 9 months, yes. I was wrong. But you have had the truth for years. You think that makes us even? I'm not trying to make us even. I'm asking whether this ever ends. He looked away. I continued. If you truly believe I ruined your life, why are you still with me? He was silent for several seconds. Then he said, because after everything I invested, you don't get to walk away clean. I wouldn't walk away clean. You would leave me with nothing. I have supported you for almost a year. That doesn't erase what happened. I never said it did. You owe me. The words were quiet. What do I owe you? Loyalty. Patience. Support. I have given you those things. Not at the beginning. So I owe them forever? He pressed his lips together. There was no answer. Gavin reached toward my arm. I stepped back, and he immediately lowered his hand. Tessa, I'm angry. I said things badly. You said I was being punished. I didn't mean it like that. You also said I owed you. You owe me honesty. I have been honest since you found out. You expect praise for that? No. I expect it to count for something. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I could still see the man from our first date, the one who listened, made me laugh and asked when he could see me again. I also knew he could still see the woman who had hidden something because she was afraid. But we could not keep building a life around the worst thing I had done before the relationship had even become official. I removed the clothes from the dryer and placed them in the basket. Where are you going? He asked. Upstairs. So we're done talking? For tonight. He followed me into the apartment. I went into the bedroom and pulled a suitcase from the closet. His face changed. What are you doing? I'm staying with Hazel for a few days. You're leaving because I used one wrong word? I'm leaving because the word explained everything. That doesn't make sense. It does to me. He stood in the doorway while I packed. You said you wanted honesty, he said. I was honest. You were. And now you're punishing me for it. I looked at him. Do you hear what you're saying? He turned away. When I carried the suitcase into the living room, he followed. You can't leave right now. Why? My training isn't finished. I know. I can't cover everything alone. I'm not canceling tomorrow's rent payment. So you'll pay while staying somewhere else? I haven't made a permanent decision. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to think somewhere I can breathe. He stood near the door without touching me. For a second, I wondered whether he would block it. Then he moved aside. You're throwing away 3.5 years over one argument, he said. I turned back. No, Gavin. We have been having this argument for 3.5 years. I left before he could answer. Hazel opened her door wearing an old sweatshirt and holding a mug. She looked at my suitcase. You left? For a few days. She stepped aside without asking questions. I had barely sat down before my phone began vibrating. Gavin apologized. Then he said he had been under pressure. A few minutes later, he accused me of pushing him until he said something he didn't mean. Then came another apology. After that, he asked how I could leave while he depended on me financially. His messages shifted between regret and blame until I stopped reading them. Just after midnight, he wrote, I never said I wanted you gone. That was true. He didn't want me gone. He wanted me to stay while carrying the weight of what I had done. I turned my phone face down. Hazel sat across from me. Do you want to know what I think? She asked. Not yet. She nodded. For the first time in years, I sat in a room where nobody expected me to defend Valentine's Day. I already knew I had been wrong to hide it. I also knew I could not spend the rest of my life proving that I was sorry. It has been 6 days since I left. Gavin says he wants me to come home. He says he will return to counseling and admits that his anger has controlled too much of our relationship. Then, in the next message, he reminds me that none of this would have happened if I had told him the truth. Our lease is still active. His training is not finished. The bills are due soon, and I know he cannot cover them alone. Part of me thinks leaving now would be cruel. Another part of me wonders whether there will ever be a convenient time to stop living as someone's punishment. I still love him. That is what makes it hard. His final message remains unanswered. After everything you did, how can you be the one who leaves?